If you ever find a rain recording online that people say has someone screaming inside it, don't play it alone at night. I learned that the hard way, and I wish I could tell you this ends with me shrugging it off like some stupid internet prank. It doesn't. It never does. I work nights at a diner on Route 9, the kind of place with neon that hums and coffee that never really cools. My name is Ryan. I'm 26, lived in the same small Pennsylvania town since high school, and I used to think the scariest thing in my life would be overdue bills or having to fix the roof in spring. Then, Megan texted me a YouTube link at 3 in the morning and told me to listen with my headphones. Megan used to be my girlfriend. We broke up 6 months before, but we still traded memes and music, and sometimes little conspiracies at hours when daylight felt like a rumor. That night, she sent the link with one line. People say there's screaming in this rain sound, not clicking bait. She added a winking emoji because she couldn't help herself. I should have ignored it. I didn't. The video was exactly what she said. One long, high-quality loop of rain hitting a tin roof, maybe 2 hours long, posted by some ambient channel with millions of subscribers. The comments were mostly ordinary people thanking the uploader for helping them sleep, complaining about thunder. But scattered through them were threads like tiny veins. You hear that at 2:47. Turn it up at 1:13. That isn't rain. Back then, I was tired and restless and built to be curious in dangerous ways. I clicked play. I put on my old over-ear headphones, the ones with a frayed cord, and closed my eyes while the fake rain filled my small apartment. It sounded real close, the way rain sounds when a roof is right overhead and the whole world has narrowed to the patter of water. For the first few minutes, I felt the common calm that ASMR listeners chase. My shoulders dropped. The diner's fluorescent memory faded, then faint and wrong. I heard something like a human sound layered under the water. Not a scream at first. A breath, wet and ragged, as if someone had finally found air. It slipped between the raincloth of the track and the world outside my window, the November wind scratching at the blinds. I paused the video and told myself I was imagining it. The comments told me otherwise. When you let the internet work its slow magic, stories gather. A Reddit thread grew. Someone from Indiana swore their cat refused to sleep after listening. A DJ in Ohio said he'd put the rain track under a set, and later, 3 people left his club in tears. Someone posted a clip from a dashcam showing a woman standing in the rain, mouth open, but no one around, as if the scream had pulled her through the air. The posts were messy and contradictory, but they all clawed toward one thing. People claimed the sound wasn't recorded, it was broadcast. It moved. That word, broadcast, stuck to the back of my throat. I started collecting proof like a dumb kid with a magnifying glass. I downloaded multiple copies, ripped audio into spectrograms on my laptop, and sat in the diner bathroom at 2 a.m. squinting at the lines. The spectrograms looked like messy mountain ranges. Once, I swore I saw a shape that looked like a mouth opening, part of this was bravado. I told Tyler at work about it like it was a joke. Tyler is a mechanic who does the late shift as a barista because he likes the tips. He laughed. "Ghost rain," he said, pouring coffee like he was pouring oil. "What's next?" "Haunted static. The ghosts of old radio shows. We dared each other like we always did. He said he'd listen at home and call me if anything weird happened. Tyler never called. Instead, the next morning I found a voicemail from Megan, short and clipped. "Ryan, don't listen to it again, okay? I think I heard my sister. I called her and she didn't answer. Text me." Her voice sounded thin. I called back and left a message. She never answered. The first twist came not from the internet, but from the pager on my diner's bulletin board. Someone had posted a missing person flyers. Emily Hart, 19, last seen at the Lakeside Motel around midnight. Last seen wearing a green hoodie. The photo on the flyer looked like the dashcam woman. Hair wet, mouth open, eyes blank. Emily was Megan's cousin. Megan texted me a picture of the flyer, 2 hours old, printed at a rundown photocopy place by the interstate with a coffee stain on the corner. I did what people do when they think they can control danger. I started mapping everything. The uploader of the rain video was out of California. Some ambient channel with a PO box and a profile that said nothing. The posters who swore they heard voices came from Ohio, New Jersey, and long threads that bled into message boards. Emily's motel was 20 miles north of my town. Tyler's address was in my phone. His last text to me was an emoji of a winking face. You can explain most things away if you're clever enough. Rain is full of frequencies that make your brain pattern match. People are primed for tragedy. They hear what they hope or fear to hear. But then I found the clip. A kid on Reddit had posted a dashcam excerpt. The video was grainy night footage from a Taco Bell drive-through camera. A woman had pulled into the parking lot and sat stationary for 19 minutes, upright in her car, the rain visible on her windshield like 1,000 tiny moons. The dashcam captured her opening her mouth and making a sound that started like a cough and then fell into the hollow, animal shape of a scream. The cars around her kept going. Not one person got out. Not one person called 911, according to the timestamp. Then she walked out of frame, wet hair clinging to her cheeks, like someone who had purposefully left reality. Someone had posted the audio under the dashcam, with the rain track mixed low into the background. When you removed the rain, the scream was still there, impossibly distant and close at once. It layered over night road noise. The Redditors started triangulating like detectives, with too much time. Some traced the Taco Bell camera ID to a store in a town I drive through on my way to my sister's house. That's how small events become compasses. I drove there after my shift. I told myself I was being responsible if there was a missing person. Someone had to look. The Taco Bell was a dull square with parking lot lights that buzzed and made the lot shine like a movie set. There were security cameras on the corners. The manager, a man with a name tag Carlos looked tired and suspicious when I asked if he'd seen the clip. He showed me the footage, pulled up on an ancient DVR with a cracked screen. The woman was there, exactly as the video had shown. Carlos rubbed his beard. "Crazy thing is," he said, "this is the second car that sat like that last month. Guy in a truck. Sat for 15 minutes, stared into his rear view, then drove away like nothing happened. We called it in, but no report." "Did you call the police?" I asked. "We did. They said people sit in cars. They took the plates, filed it. Nothing." His face had the unhelpful look of those who had seen too much small-town oddness and had learned it cost money and time to care. It was easy to dismiss until I checked the timestamps. The Taco Bell video time was the same minute a traffic cam 2 towns over registered and unaccounted for power dip. Several small outages, all under an hour, all the night after someone posted a clip. The more I looked, the more dots formed a constellation that spelled something the size of a weather system. Outages, rain tracks posted at odd hours, missing people whose last known location was a gray parking lot or a motel step. The common thread was noise. Ambient rain recordings played at night. People online did what people always do online. They experimented. Someone uploaded a clip of his studio, grenading with the rain track layered through the speakers. His comments filled with terrified messages claiming that playing the track low at 3:03 a.m. induced the feeling of being watched. A woman in Minnesota said she put it on for her newborn and woke up at dawn to the baby's blankets soaked with condensation, though the window had been closed all night. The reports were impossible to verify, but they multiplied until I could no longer pretend they were only anecdotes. The second twist, the one that stopped my breath, was that I found my own voice. I was at my apartment late, fingers stained with fryer oil from closing up at the diner. I had the rain playing low because the silence made the old radiator click like a metronome in my skull. I was scrolling through the Reddit thread when Megan called. Her name flashed across my phone like a tiny lighthouse. I answered, and she was whispering. "Ryan," she said, "I don't know what to do. My mom says Emily left for a walk. Her voice broke. She sent me a voice note at one in. Do you want me to send it?" "Yes," I said. My stomach turned. She attached the note. It was 1 second long, a breath, and then nothing. My headphones magnified the space between sounds. The radiator, the fridge, the world held back like a lung. I hit play. The note was raw, a noise that matched nothing natural, and then, layered beneath, unmistakable, my laugh. It took a full minute for my brain to kneel to that. It was a recording of me from last winter. I had been at Megan for a party, and I'd recorded something stupid, an imitation of a bird call, and posted it to our group chat. The audio clip Megan sent had that laugh tucked under the rain like a seed in soil. I played it again and again. My laugh sat inside someone else's message like it had always been there. Someone had plucked it and folded it into a rain track I had never heard before. I called Tyler, no answer. I drove to his apartment. The hallway smelled like oil and old fries. His door was unlocked. Inside, the place looked like it had been left mid-motion. A coffee mug on the counter, a wrench on the table, his phone lit on the couch. The TV was playing the Rain video on mute. I thought of the laugh inside the clip. It was a smell in the room. Then I saw the voicemail icon, one new message from me. I had called him that morning, hungover and bragging about the dashcam clip. I pressed play. A voice I recognized as my own said, "Dude, this is stupid. Don't do it." And then a static pop. It ended with a sound that was not mine. A thin, long animal exhale. Tyler's phone had him last recorded whispering something. No, that was wrong. The audio showed he had been listening. His phone's last app used was a weather station. And this was the thing that made the room tilt. The Rain video had been playing at 3:03 a.m. The timestamp on his phone matched the DVR footage Carlos had shown me. I called the station again. Tyler's mom answered, voice swollen with tears. "He's not here," she said. "He left his truck at my house. They found his headphones in the ashtray, Ryan, and his wallet on the kitchen counter." My jaw went numb. I remember the exact feeling, like stepping off a curb and realizing the street had been dug away. Then the dreams started. The first one was a simple replay. Rain. And inside the rain, a whisper that sounded like a name. I woke at 2 a.m. with my throat raw and a taste of copper in my mouth. My phone said it was 3 in the morning. I'd slept fitfully for an hour. I had missed a call from an unknown number. The voicemail was an automated update from police about a missing persons report dated the night before. Megan texted me again, but this time with a recording she swore she'd never made. Emily's voice, or something pretending to be her, singing a child's lullaby backwards over the rain. The message ended with something soft. "I am at the corner." I went to the corner. This is when things stop being tidy. When you tell someone the parts that make you look like an over-dramatized hero, you're lying by omission. The truth is messy. I sat in my car across from the lakeside motel until dawn. I watched the parking lot fill with cabs and teenagers who wandered out of a concert that had been held in our neighboring town. I kept the Rain recording playing at a low volume in the car because the knowledge that it was on made me feel like I was in the same room as my fear and could therefore control it. That was a lie. Fear is not a room you can shut. At 6:47, a woman walked out of the motel with no shoes, hair plastered to her face, and paused at the corner like she was going to cross the street. Her mouth was open in a scream that made no sound. She carried a duffel bag and nothing else. Her eyes found mine, and I thought to hell and back that she would ask for help. She didn't. She kept walking, and the way she moved, methodical, like a person following a map she couldn't read, tried my name out, as if checking to see whether I would answer. I didn't. I had the instinct to record her, to call the police, to do anything that would make my hands feel useful. But the sight of her made my limbs into a stranger's property. I watched her turn into the mist and disappear kind of calm that makes you sick. The motel manager told me a story about a tenant who paid cash and never left. He'd sit on the roof sometimes when it rained, she said. Wouldn't answer the phone, kept the radio loud, thought he was tuning out the world. The words lined up like bricks I could stack into a building I could enter. The tenant's name was not on any registry. No one had his pictures. No one had a record. The police said they had nothing. You can feel paranoia grow like a bruise. You rub it, and it hurts worse. I started physically marking things. Times I'd listened to the rain, people who'd gone missing afterward, cars abandoned, recordings shared. There were patterns, but never explanations. Each answer folded into 3 more questions. The internet blamed everything from microwaves to government experiments. The police blamed nothing. The boards, those late-night groups that traffic in urban music, memes, and folklore, started calling the phenomenon the wet signal. And that name stuck because humans find comfort in names. The wet signal sounded like something that could be managed. We are terrible readers. We want to believe in plan. My waking life grew thin. I would go to my shift at the diner and make change and pour coffee, then take the same drive out to a motel or a gas station to look at security footage that never proved anything. Sometimes I found small things, a jacket with a name I recognized draped over a chair, a voicemail I'd left myself with no memory of making. Once I went to a rehabilitation center for veterans on Route 12 because someone online swore they had recorded the rain track through an old radio there in 2009. The nurse showed me an archived cassette, brittle with tape, with a label that read "Rain, do not erase." The tape had been logged in under medical files for a man who was later discharged and never seen again. The world started to fold in on itself. People I knew listened to a clip and went quiet. They missed meetings and dyed their hair and then moved away. Every so often somebody would post a video showing them playing the track quietly in the background of their life, in a coffee shop, in a vintage car, on a reel in an empty gym. Afterward, they would caption it with a line like "I had to know," as if knowing were a virtue. It was a choice, and choices have consequences. The climax, if we must use that word, was not a single violent encounter. It was a convergence of small, unbearable proofs. The motel tenant's room with its radio turned to static. The Taco Bell dashcam with the woman who screamed without sound. Tyler's abandoned truck with the rain track still looping on his ruined headphones. The last piece was the CCTV from a traffic circle outside our county courthouse, grainy, 6 frames per second, dated 2 nights after the first Reddit thread blew up. There, at 3:03 a.m., dozens of cars slowed and pulled to the side. People stepped out. No one made a call. No one argued. They just stood. One by one, they sat down on the pavement like tired kids and opened their mouths into the rain. I watched it with an officer named Martinez, who'd finally agreed to let me see the footage after Tyler went missing. He was more tired than anyone should be, but less willing to indulge superstition. He had theory and patience. We stared at the screen together until dawn. The clip showed faces, then not. People on the video folded into the rain as if pulled under a tide. Some walked away later, heads tilted, eyes vacant. A woman with a scar on her jaw hummed a tune, and then turned to the camera and seemed to look straight at us. We could both see the shape of it in her mouth, a scream or a plea or an instruction. Martinez sat back and swore. "We're recording ghosts," he said. "This is our job. We don't have ghosts." He left the room with a hollow, professional sleep in his footsteps. I haven't been the same since. I tried to turn the phenomenon into something I could fight. I poured time into audio software, isolated frequencies, slowed sounds down. I printed waveforms and pinned them to my wall like religious icons, connecting file names with yarn and little notes. Each attempt felt like trying to hold back the tide with a coffee filter. Then I found my voice again. It happened the way small tragedies do, slow and bribing. I was up all night chasing leads in other states. I had a dozen tabs open with motel registries and a map of camera locations and a list of people who had listened to the rain track. At 3 a.m., because of course, it started to rain outside my window. I had the rain recording playing low because I thought if I matched the sound, I could compare it. The live rain and the recorded rain lined up like footsteps. I closed my eyes, and somewhere underneath the thunder, the audio picked up a shape I recognized like the dent in a familiar toy. My own voice was there again, and not as a cut and paste this time. It was a voice I somehow remembered making, but could not place, the way I'd whisper when drunk in a vehicle, the small, private noises you save for a stranger or a lover. It was my laugh, my exhale, the sound I make when I say someone's name and do not expect an answer. Under it came a chorus: Tyler, Megan, Emily, none of them speaking words, just making the long, thin noises that count as screams when life is both too close and too far. They layered into the rain like sediment. I panicked. I ripped my headphones off and stumbled to the window. The rain outside was steady and normal. My neighbor's porch light flicked on across the street. A dog barked. Nothing in the world was saying my name in a chorus of human breaths. Yet the sound was still there, inside the recording my laptop played. I grabbed my keys and drove to the courthouse. The footage in Martinez's office had no new updates, no bright flashes of revelation. The police were exhausted into politeness, their forms more important than the fact that people were leaving their lives. I shouted in the hallway, "You have to trace the source." I told a detective who had the patience of a man who'd held other people's tragedies in his pocket like loose change. "It's broadcasting. People are going missing." He looked at me like I might be the missing thing. "We'll look into leads," he said. The words were automatic. He had forms to fill. He had a precinct budget. He had a list of crimes that had shiny paperwork. If you want the truth of my climax, it is this. I got angry enough to stop being polite. I broke into the server room of the ambient channel's hosting provider on a weekday where no one noticed a boy with grease under his fingernails, and I found files that had been uploaded and then scrubbed. The records kept a faint timestamp and the name of an IP associated with a place I knew, the Lakeside Motel's old, forgotten satellite line. There was a folder labeled Rainmaster, with subfolders named for towns and dates. Inside, those were dozens of clips, each marked with times and tiny notes. 3:03 a.m. Increase layer. 3:13 a.m. Test frequency on channel. There were also audio files that, when played, made the air in my chest rearrange itself like something trying to get out. I don't want to say I found criminals. I didn't. I found evidence of transmission. Someone or something had been collecting human noises and folding them into rain tracks. The files were labeled with the names of places where people later vanished. It looked like a habit, an old machine learning job someone had renamed Comfort and left running. When I went back to my apartment that night, I expected the world to be brighter for having found something. I expected the knowledge to be a talisman. Instead, I found Megan on my couch, pale, hair in a hair tie, eyes red as if she had been weeping for a long time. She looked at me like I had broken something, and it was my fault. "You found it," she said. "You found what they used." "I found files," I said. "I found evidence something collected voices." "You found it and played it, didn't you?" she asked. "Ryan, you played it." There was no accusation in her voice, only a terrible exhaustion. She held up her phone. The voice note was 12 seconds long. Emily's voice, my voice, Tyler's laugh, and under it, me, whispering a name I recognized as my own. "No," I said. I heard my laugh somewhere else. I traced an IP. I swear I didn't play." "You did," she said. "I saw it on your browser. I saw the file. You streamed it. You streamed it to a public server at 3:03. Her finger pointed at a timestamp on her phone. The numbers were precise. The world tightened into a vice. "They log everything," she said. "We didn't realize it would replay." Megan fell asleep on my shoulder that night, her body a small weight of bone and grief. I replayed that final stretch of files. There was one audio file I had not listened to, an index file named Last Call. It sat in the server like an epilogue nobody wanted to read. I opened it. It started with rain, thin and polite. Then a sound like static and cough. Then a voice, familiar in ways that scraped old bones. "Ryan," it said, my name. The voice was mine, but not mine. It had the distance of a recording layered over a warm sound. Then it said slowly, with the same breath Megan used when she was tired and sincere, "We needed to be heard. We needed rain. We were lonely." It was. The file cut. I didn't sleep at all that night. I did not go to the diner. I called in sick and sat under fluorescent lights, moving shadows across the carpet. The world went on being banal. Neighbors took out trash, cars drove. Someone knocked on a door and asked for directions. The rain started and stopped like an indecisive film. I kept the recording open and watched the waveform like someone scanning the horizon for a shape. The police never offered answers in any satisfying way. They said they were investigating, which is the legal equivalent of a promise to be slow and thorough in a situation where speed mattered. Martinez brought me coffee and a face that had grown older in the space of weeks. "You heard it," he said once, not as a question. "On the tape, the wet signal." He did not mock me. That small concession scared me more than anything. What happened afterward is a series of small choices, each of which I would change if I could. I stopped posting about it. I stopped going to Threads. I deleted the files from my computer, even though I had backups on drives in multiple places. I stopped sleeping with my headphones. I started leaving lights on. People moved away. Some of them left notes for no one in particular pinned to bulletin boards. "Do not follow the sound." Others wrote more quietly, "If you listen, be ready to go." Megan left town 2 weeks later. She said she couldn't stay in a place where a noise might find her and learn her secrets. Tyler's family sold his truck to a man who seemed not to ask questions. Emily was never found. The lakeside motel closed, its sign put to sleep with a tarp. The ambient channel that hosted the rain videos went dark for a day, and then came back with thousands of re-uploads by anonymous accounts. The internet is a sieve. Anything someone tries to bury is eventually pushed through. Here is the thing I have learned that scares me. The rain sound is not the only carrier. It is one vector among many. It finds ways. It folds voices in. It returns them. People who listened and then left did so with the look of someone who had been given instructions in a language they had never studied. Some of them came back weeks later and could not tell you where they had been. Their names made little sense. They had new stories that did not belong to them. I live on a street that used to be quiet. Now, sometimes when it rains, I hear a sound that is almost but not quite the recording. It slips under the roof like a secret. If I shut my eyes, I can hear Tyler's half-laugh, Megan's whisper, the ragged exhale of someone who has spent a long time underwater. They are not always words. Sometimes they are syllables, and then silence. If you are someone who writes horror for people online, you will know how to check this. Find a 2-hour ambient track labeled Rain, the kind with millions of plays. Look at the comments. Look for the small threads that say the track made someone cry or left their dog trembling. Maybe you are bored. Maybe you are brave. Maybe you like to see what the dark tastes like. Do not do it at night. If you do, listen with someone else in the room. Ask them to hold their phone and call the police if they see anything strange. Do not listen through speakers that can fill a room like a tide. Keep a flashlight. Keep a list of names. That is the only advice I've got that isn't cowardice dressed up as prudence. It doesn't fix anything. It just tries to buy you a breath. The last line of the story is small and selfish. I have tried to make amends in ways that matter and ways that do not. I have followed leads nobody else wants to follow. I have interviewed people who seemed too tired to have secrets and found they had very small ones that fit into my hand. have tried to tell the truth enough times that it would not be dismissed as drunk talk. Mostly, I fail. Tonight, if the rain starts, and you live in a place where rain is supposed to sound like rain, be careful what you let into your ears. The last time I left my windows cracked at night, because I liked the air, something came in on the breeze, a thin, practiced sound, like someone practicing breathing in and out. It sounded like my own laugh, but older, as if it had been recorded in a room with different wallpaper. I shut the window and lay down. For a long time, I heard nothing. Then, faint and patient as a tide, a sound threaded itself into the world outside, soft, like rain, and under it, perfectly clear, a voice reading my name back to me.